DND number 3, Finding Home in Jesus' Name, chapter 15. Excuse me. They're here, Lisa shouted, running into the kitchen where Grams was cutting fruit at the counter. She grabbed the tiny woman and spun her around. They're here! Grams laughed. Wonderful. Go out and welcome them, and I'll be out in a minute. Lisa kissed Graham's soft cheek and headed for the front door. When she opened it, Jody and John were just getting out of their respective vehicles. Jody! Lisa called, running down the steps, sprinting across the gravel drive and grabbing her up in a giant bear hug. You're finally here. It's so good to see you. You too, Jody beamed. You look good and different. Different? Yeah. Happy. Lisa laughed. Big change, huh? Jody gestured toward the man who approached and casually placed his arm across her shoulders. Lisa's mouth hung open. Lisa, this is my husband, John Apple. Oh, my. I can't believe it, Lisa said, almost whispering. Well, it is an unusual name, but it's not that bad, John said, offering his hand to Lisa. She looked up. Oh, it's not your name. It's just... Wait, you'll see. She shook his hand, then turned and swept her arm toward the house. So, what do you think? Jody grinned from ear to ear. It's gigantic. I know you said sort of like the Waltons, but theirs wasn't near this big. And it's going to be bigger when the contractors get through. I have so much to talk to the two of you about, but I'm going to be patient and actually let you get in the door before I start. Good, Jody giggled, because the bathroom would be nice right about now. Come on in. Lisa led them up the steps and into the house. Oh, man. It smells good in here, John said, sniffing the air. What is that? That would be your supper cooking, Maddie said with a smile as she entered the room. I've died and gone to heaven, John said. Well, now, I think I like you, Maddie answered with a chuckle, looking up at John, her mouth open wide. Lisa interrupted before Grams could make the comment. She wanted it to be a shock to Jody and John. Grams, please meet Jody and John Apple. Jody, John, my wonderful grandmother. Jody tried to extend a hand in greeting, but Maddie reached up and hugged her neck first, and then John's. Welcome to the Pine Forest Inn, Maddie said, beaming with pride. Thank you, Mrs. Lewis, Jody said. Oh, please, you must call me Grams, or Maddie. You're Lisa's business partner, so that makes you part of the family. Well, I'll call you anything you want, Maddie, John said. Just tell me, what are you cooking? Maddie smiled up at the tall man. You're smelling stuffed chicken breast, roasted garlic mashed potatoes, steamed broccoli, buttermilk biscuits, and apple pie. I think I'm going to cry. Maddie clapped her hands. Well, we'll have none of that. Let's get you in and settled, and supper will be ready in about an hour. That will give you... time to rest and get oriented. Lisa led them up the stairs and down to the far end of the hall. I've put you down here for now. Thought you might enjoy the privacy. Eventually, our rooms will be up there. She pointed toward the ceiling. In the attic? Jody asked, eyebrows raised. Well, wait till you see it up there. It's huge, and there are these wonderful dormer windows and gorgeous hardwood floors, or they will be gorgeous as soon as they're refinished. I'll take you up there later. You're going to be pleasantly surprised. She opened the door to the blue room and stood back to let Jody and John precede her. Wow, this is just great, Jody said as her eyes swept the room, taking in the fireplace on the far wall, the old wallpaper with the tiny cornflower print, the white lace curtains tied back with blue satin ribbons, and the patchwork quilt done in multi-shades of blue and trimmed in white eyelet. Lisa turned to John. What do you think? I hope it's not too feminine for you. John smiled. Well, I'm not intimidated by feminine things. His eyes swept the room. Just look at that fireplace and these huge glass windows. This must be the original glass. The feng shui in here is great. Good then, Lisa said with a smile. I'll leave you to get unpacked, and I'll be downstairs in the new little office I fixed up in what I believe used to be a sewing room. Do you want me to help get some things out of your cars? Don't be silly, Lisa. John will get it, won't you, John? You know I will. For you, babe. Anything. Lisa smiled. That's enough to make me swoon. Really, John said. Maybe I could handle two beautiful females hanging all over me. Maybe you could, but I can't, Jody said, hands on hips. Now, go get the luggage. He saluted. Yes, ma'am. New scene. Are we late for, what was it you called it? Supper? John laughed. Supper. I like that. You're right on time, Maddie answered with a smile. You'll get used to the southern sayings. Now, y'all go sit in there. I thought we'd eat in the dining room tonight. I'll call Lisa. She gets to working and forgets what time it is. They walked through the kitchen and out the other side into the huge dining room. I can't get over how large everything is. This dining room could seat 50 people easy, Jody remarked. Did the original owners have like 25 kids? Maddie laughed. Well, from what I was told by my husband when we bought this place, it was built in the late 1800s by a doctor and his wife who intended to live here with their two children and run a hospital on the second floor. That's why there are so many bedrooms. How many are there? 10 on the second floor, and down here there is one large bedroom, which is where my husband and I always slept, and 3 smaller rooms that I think may have been servants' or domestic quarters. Which one did my mother use? Lisa asked as she joined them. Louise slept in the small room just down the hall from the kitchen when she was little. Then she moved to the blue room. She said she wanted to be as far away from us as possible. That figures. Lisa turned to her friends. Did you get settled in almost? Almost. John still has to unhitch your car, and we're going to wait until after dinner to unload the trailer. We have to turn it in tomorrow. Everyone have a seat, Maddie directed. Oh, no, not this time. We're going to help bring the food in, Lisa countered. And within minutes, the 4 of them had supper on the table. This room is amazing, Jody said to Maddie as they sat. It's so big. Oh, we hardly ever eat in here, Maddie said. It's a shame because Lawrence built this big old table himself. Well, it's well done, John said, running his hand over the polished wood. I've only actually been in this room once before, Lisa said. The way it sits on the other side of the living room, with the fireplace in between, it's like it was built as an afterthought. Well, all you have to do is turn those windows there into French doors that open out onto a veranda, and the flow of traffic will move that direction, John said. See why I keep him around, Jody said with a grin. Lisa nodded. He's absolutely right. I wonder where Chaz is. I thought he'd be home by now. I can't wait to meet him. I think I hear him now, Maddie said. I didn't hear a car, Jody said. Oh, not a car, Lisa said. A horse. The back door slammed. Sorry I'm late, Chaz called from the kitchen. I'll wash up and be right in. He appeared in the doorway a minute later, smiling, hat in hand. Hey, everyone. John stood, mouth agape. Chaz eyed him closely. Jody gasped. Oh, my. Chaz moved forward and offered his hand to John. It's amazing, he said. I'm dumbfounded, John answered. You could be my twin brother. Or you could be mine. I'm thinking I'm going to have a long talk with Mom, Chaz said with a laugh. More likely your dad, Lisa said. So that's why you looked so funny at him earlier, Jody said to Lisa. Lisa smiled. I decided not to say anything until Chaz got here, just for the fun of seeing how you would react. Well, it certainly is uncanny, Maddie said. Chaz, sit down before the food gets cold. He leaned down and kissed her cheek. Yes, ma'am. He leaned close to Lisa next. Hello there. His lips brushed her cheek and lingered before he took his seat. Long trip? Chaz asked. Long but exciting, Jody answered, looking forward to learning a whole new way of life. The polite bits of conversation lasted only until their plates had been served and the first forkfuls of food had been placed in respective mouths. And then there was silence, the soft moans of delight. Maddie grinned. I'm going to get fat, Jody said. I know, Lisa said. That's what I keep saying. That's why I've been running every morning. That helps, and we'll be putting in a fitness room and a pool and a sauna, so we'll be okay if we can just show some restraint. Good luck, John mumbled with his mouth full of food. Dinner conversation was delightful as they got to know each other. Chaz was pleased to learn that John knew how to ride and offered a tour of the ranch as soon as the women let him have some free time. Jody and Lisa couldn't stop talking about all the plans for the renovations of prospective employees and the town itself, which Jody wanted to go back and explore shop by shop. Afterward, Chaz offered to do dishes while Lisa took Jody and John on a tour of the house and explained the changes that needed to be made. Lisa led Jody and John into the front room. Let's start in the living room at the door so you can see what a client is going to see. They stood by the door and tried to see how things would look after the renovations. Lisa's arm swept out to her right. This room is huge and has great high ceilings. And just look at the woodwork. I suppose you could call it rustic country. New paint and the right window treatments will do wonders in here. I love the exposed beams and the fireplace there, and sharing a wall with the dining room. What if we take out the wall on either side of the fireplace, opening up the room to the dining area and leaving only the fireplace as a center point for the two rooms? Jody put in. Lisa frowned as she thought over the suggestion. I think that would be perfect, just perfect. And we'll widen the door from the kitchen into the dining room. Make it a swinging double door. Right. Oh, this is going to be wonderful, Jody said. So living room, dining, and kitchen are all off the right of the stairs. What's off to the left? Lisa moved to a room to the left and pushed two old sliding wooden pocket doors apart. The music room, she said with a smile. The room was large and sported a piano and many built-in shelves filled with old trinkets, clocks, figurines, and a few books. Lisa pointed to a door on the adjoining wall. Through that door is the hall that leads out of the kitchen, back behind the stairs there. Graham's bedroom is down there, right behind this room, a study, two more smaller bedrooms, and the sewing room I mentioned earlier, and two more rooms that I can't figure out what they were used for. Come on, I'll show you. As they walked, she continued, there's only one bathroom on this level, just beside the kitchen, and only two upstairs, and putting a bathroom in every room is going to be the biggest expense. We'll actually have to lose two of the bedrooms upstairs in order to swing it. I'll show you the proposals from 3 different contractors tomorrow, and we'll have to put 2 bathrooms in the attic for when we move up there. Jody was grinning from ear to ear. It's wonderful, Lisa. I can already see how marvelous it's going to be. What do you think, John? I think the back den will make a great workout room, and I can also teach some yoga and martial arts classes. The room right next to the office/sewing room is where I can offer massages. Lisa smiled. It's really going to happen, isn't it? We're really going to do this, and it's going to be a great success. Jody hugged her. Absolutely. So tell me, honestly, what do you think? I think we're going to have our very own business that is going to make us a good living, and more importantly, we're going to be doing something we enjoy, Jody said. And you, John? Lisa asked. I think the same, but I have more questions. Shoot. Air conditioning? I'm already on that. Obviously, the old system right now barely cools the place. It will have to be completely revamped. Good, because we want to keep the integrity of old country living, but New Yorkers won't want to come back if they can't get cool. That's right. We need to have the best of both worlds. Well, the front porch is great, John continued, but will need to be widened, and we'll have to consider a parking area that won't mess up the graceful entrance. What does the back look like? It needs a complete makeover. The back porch is very small. We'll need to build a deck and patio and put in the pool and surrounding landscape, keeping in mind, of course, our rustic country theme. Of course. I hope you don't intend to take down those gorgeous pecan trees, John said. Never. I've grown to really love trees since I've been here. Come on, I'll show you upstairs. The tour continued to each bedroom and then up to the attic, and finally they made their way out to the kitchen door to the backyard, where Chaz was talking to Bebe and Maddie sat in a rocker on the small porch. Enjoy the tour? Maddie asked. Oh, yes, Jody said. We're very excited to get the ball rolling. John and the girls moved out into the backyard, where Lisa showed off Maddie's garden to Jody. John joined Chaz by the post where the horse was tied. Well, she's a beauty, John said. She is that, aren't you, girl? Chaz whispered close to her ear. What's her name? Bebe stands for Big Beauty. John gave her an affectionate rub. You are a big girl, huh? He said. Over 16 hands. She's a sweetheart. You feel like a ride? John's eyes lit up. Sure. You sure you don't mind? Or should I ask, are you sure she won't mind? Well, she's letting you near her, and that says a lot right there. She's not for a beginner, though. You've got some experience under your belt, right? Well, some. I'm not an expert, but I've ridden since I was about 16. I used to help out during the summers on a riding trail, rent a horse type setup. Well, let's just see what Bibi thinks, Chaz said with a smile. John moved to Bibi's side. Chaz stepped out of the way, and John swung up onto Bibi's back. He leaned forward and stroked her neck a few times before he straightened, and Chaz nodded his approval and patted the mare's head. You behave, he whispered. John waved at Jody, turned, and took Bibi on a stroll of the property. Chaz watched for a few minutes, making sure Bibi didn't pull any of her antics before he turned back to the women. His eyes roamed over Lisa. She wore the skirt that she'd worn the night they'd visited Wilson's Lake. He met Lisa's stare and smiled at her, wanted her, needed her. So, Chaz, Jody began, Lisa tells me you're in on all this. In deep, Chaz said with a laugh. She's got me roped into taking a bunch of city-fied exec types around the ranch and letting them pretend to be cowboys. It'll be a seller, Jody said, turning to Lisa. Especially if you put Chaz's picture on the brochure, doing all those manly type activities. Women will come in droves, and they'll all be trying to get him into the hayloft. Lisa frowned, and Chaz smiled. Really? Maybe this won't be so bad after all. I might just relegate you to supplying the organic grass-fed beef and get some other ranch to accommodate me. Aw, come on, sweetheart. No one can accommodate you like I can. Maddie chuckled from her place in the wooden rocker. He shrugged. Sorry, I couldn't resist. But about the ladies trying to get me into the hayloft, you know, I only love you. Lisa's face turned pink. He'd never said it in front of anyone else. Suddenly it seemed more real. Maybe that's why weddings take place in front of witnesses. To declare your love for each other in front of a bunch of people, that's brave. And scary. She smiled at him. And oh, so sweet. He came to her and took her arms and put them around his neck. What do you say when John comes back, I take you for a ride? She looked up at him, trying to decide if he was using another double entendre. It struck her again, what a beautiful man he is. Large, tough, tan, and rugged, with a brilliant smile and mischief in his eyes. Standing so close to him now, she was almost overwhelmed by the complete maleness of him. She was not a simpering female, but he made her want to be. So he would scoop her up in his arms and carry her away. Lord have mercy, she thought, wrinkling her nose. I'm thinking like an idiot. You don't have to if you don't want, Chaz said, his smile gone. Huh? Lisa answered. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Jody giggled. Lisa, I think he was talking about taking you for a ride. On the horse. Chaz grinned at Jody. Was I? Jody gave a burst of laughter. You two are cute. And suddenly, I'm very tired. I think John and I will go to bed early. Think he'll accommodate me? Maddie chuckled again. I like her, Lisa. You choose your friends well. Oh, thank you, Miss Maddie, Jody said sweetly. She went up the porch steps to plant a kiss on Maddie's cheek. I like you too. Well, that's a good thing, Chaz said, since we're all going to be together quite a bit. He turned as John approached and dismounted. How's she do for you? She's a real beauty and a lady. Chaz took the bridle. That's my girl. Bibi nibbled at his shoulder and nudged him. Yeah, I love you too, girl. John, I'm suddenly so very tired. Would you mind if we unload the rest of the trailer in the morning? His brow furrowed. I don't mind a bit. Are you okay? I'm fine. Well, I'll help you unload in the morning before I head out, Chaz offered. I'll take you up on that, and I appreciate it. He took Jody's hand. Are you sure you're okay? Any more cramping? John, Jody whined. Oops, sorry, honey, it slipped. Jody glanced at Lisa's raised eyebrows. I wasn't going to tell you yet. You have so much going on right now. Tell me what? Jody looked back at John with a frown, and he responded with a shrug. Well, we're going to find out sooner or later, so you may as well tell them right now, Maddie said, raising up from her chair. And don't you worry about a thing. We're going to take good care of you. What are you talking about? Lisa demanded. Chaz grinned. Hurry and tell her before she goes berserk. Lisa wheeled on him. You know what it is? I just figured it out. We're going to have a baby, Jody finally said. He's due in February. Lisa's jaw dropped. A baby? Jody nodded her head, her hand going to her abdomen, even though there was no sign of a baby yet. We found out just before we left, she grimaced. Lisa, I hope you're not upset. It wasn't planned, but I promise it won't slow me down. Upset? No, of course I'm not upset. I'm just surprised. Wow. She smiled. Wow, we're going to have a baby. I was hoping that would be your reaction. John scooped her up. Let me get you up to bed. An offer I can't refuse, Jody said, giggling. Chaz turned to Maddie. Is there anything you need, Miss Maddie? Oh, no, dear. I'm headed inside. Lisa's got me all plugged into the internet and taught me how to navigate. I've been scouting Pinterest and checking out all the latest in recipes and trends. I'm getting hooked. I even have an email address. I'm going to go check it right now. Chaz grinned at Lisa as Maddie left them. That was very thoughtful of you. It's lovely how happy and free she seems to be, isn't it? It is. Maybe that's what we thought. Maybe that's what we should be doing for the elderly at retirement homes. Bring them computers instead of puppies. It opens the entire world to them. Maddie wants me to come to a meeting of the ladies' auxiliary and teach them all how to email each other. Well, that should be a real hoot. It will, won't it? Maybe I can get Jody to help me. I think it will do them all some good. I believe in technology. Me too, but right now I'd like to get back to basics. How about that ride? I thought you'd never ask. Chaz moved toward Bibi and rubbed her neck and gathered the reins. He bent down and formed his hand into a cup. Just step here and I'll boost you up. She did as instructed, and a few minutes later he was seated behind her, one arm wrapped around her waist. Do you remember anything from the lesson Troy gave you? It seems he was sitting a lot closer than you are. What? Lisa laughed. I'm just kidding. He was on his own horse. Ha ha. Who did he have you ride? A big old guy named Rocky. Oh, good. Rocky is a gentle giant. He follows the horse in front of him. You don't even have to guide him. So I found, but that doesn't really teach me anything, does it? Nope. Here. Chaz handed the reins to Lisa. She took them. Giddy up, she said softly, but Bibi didn't move. Chaz placed his hands over Lisa's. Tug a little to the side, like this. But won't that make her go around in a circle? If you kept the reins tight to the side, yes. But once she starts moving, you let up. Chaz put pressure on Lisa's hands, and Bibi started forward at a slow walk, and Lisa gasped. Okay now, Chaz said softly, you're doing fine. Lisa looked back at him, wide-eyed. Which way do you want to go? Head toward the back left corner. I'll show you how I get here from my house. Once they arrived at the edge of the woods, Bibi began to prance nervously, and Chaz immediately took the reins. What is it, girl? He asked, peering around, not noticing anything unusual. What's got you scared? She nickered, tossing her head, which startled Lisa. Stay calm, babe, Chaz ordered. He tightened his hold on the reins and got Bibi under control. Might be a snake nearby. Let's get a move on, he said, snapping the reins and tightening his hold on Lisa at the same time. Lisa squealed as Bibi shot forward. In only a few minutes, they emerged from the woods, coming out at the road where Lisa had once run out of gas. They crossed the road and entered the ranch from a side gate. You don't mind helping me take care of the horses, do you? I can take you back to the house first if you'd rather. You're not really dressed for it. No, that would be silly. I'd love to come with you, and I can work in a skirt as well as jeans. An hour later, Chaz and Lisa walked from the stable, leaving the horses fed, watered, groomed, and bedded. The sun had gone down, and the evening was warm, alight with fireflies and abuzz with night sounds, and Chaz took Lisa's hand. That wasn't so bad, was it? Lisa shook her head. Nope, but I have a new appreciation for all you do. Well, now, I like that. He stopped and pulled her to him. That deserves a kiss. She tasted so sweet, and he just couldn't get enough of her. I can see into your parents' house from here, she whispered. Well, they can't see us. She smiled but shook her head. No. Come on, he said, tugging on her hand. They circled around in the dark, past the back of the house, which Lisa saw included a swimming pool, an elaborate patio deck structure. They crossed through a garden, past a gazebo, and finally to a small picnic table that sat near the edge of a stream. Oh, how lovely, Lisa purred, moving toward the water. Is that the same creek that goes past my house way back in the woods? Yep. She looked back at him. You're not feeling very talkative? Nope. Got other things on my mind. She smiled. Like what? He gripped the side of the table. Like you. Her stomach did a little flip-flop. He gestured behind him. Can't see the house, can you? No, she said with a smile, walking toward him. He grabbed her and swung her up onto the table, and taking her face in his hands, he lowered his mouth to hers. Lisa couldn't get over the feelings Chaz could create in her. When he kissed her, it was as if he possessed her soul. He made her feel that she would give him anything, do anything for him, anything. His calloused hands touching her face always thrilled and delighted, and being with him each day felt new and felt good and felt right. Kissing him was pure pleasure, and she wished he'd never stop. But then he did stop and stepped away. She opened her eyes as he pulled her up to stand. Are we already done? He had to clear his throat. For now. And that is the end of chapter 15.